Hi there, this is Carrie Clark with SpeechAndLanguageKids.com and the Speech Therapy Solution. Today I'm answering a question about how to teach a child with autism to respond to questions. Now this would be for a child who is verbal but does not respond to the questions. So he is a child that talks somewhat, but maybe he just ignores questions or he doesn't really understand that he's supposed to respond to them. So the steps that I would use, I would first start with just simple yes-no questions about his favorite topic. So you can do, is this blank? Is this a blank? For favorite characters, favorite objects, anything that he's really motivated by. You just want to make sure that you're tapping into those interests so that he's going to be more interested in participating with you. So for example, if he really likes cars, you could show him a car and say, is this a car? Or you could say, is this a snowman? And the idea is that you want him to say yes or no. Now if he does respond verbally, if he says yes or he says no, then I want you to repeat his answer and then praise him for his verbal response. So you would say, if he said yes, then you would say, yes, that is a car. I like how you said yes. Nice using your words. So say something like that. If you are working with a child with autism, I would suggest changing what you say each time that you praise the child, because our children with autism are very keen on repeating what we say, especially if it's very routine or if it's something that they hear over and over again. So you may get to the point where the child says, yes, good job, Timmy, because he hears you saying good job, Timmy. So just make sure that you're varying your praise and also repeating his answer right after he says it, so that way he's less likely to just imitate the next thing that you always say, because the next thing you say is what he said, so it doesn't make sense to say it twice. So that's what I would start with there. If he does not respond verbally, then you want to prompt him with something like, use your words, or tell me with your mouth, or you can say yes. Just give him some sort of indication that he needs to tell you the answer out loud. Now, if he still doesn't respond to that and he's just not using his words no matter how hard you try, then I would move to using some sort of tangible reinforcement to encourage him to use a verbal response. So for example, if he really likes cookies, you could have a cookie there and say, if you want the cookie, you need to answer my question. Say yes. And then he says yes, and you give him the cookie. Now, I would be very cautious using these tangible reinforcements because they can become too much of a crutch and the child will have a hard time breaking from that. So if you do need to use tangible reinforcements, try to fade it back as quickly as you possibly can. So you do cookies a couple times and then you put the cookies away and you try it again without. So try to fade back that tangible reinforcement as quickly as you can. Now, once the child can answer those basic yes-no questions verbally, then you want to move on to some basic what questions. So what's this, or what's he doing? Again, I would recommend you use the child's interests, try to get him interested and motivated in it, but you can always kind of fade back on that as well. Once the child gets more comfortable doing it, then you can introduce other subjects as well. And you're just going to use the same method to prompt that verbal response as you did in the first step. So praise him if he does it. If not, then you're going to offer the support to help him do that on each trial. Now you're just going to keep moving through questions this way. So you're going to practice each new question form in therapy during those structured activities. And then I want you to encourage the parents and the teachers to carry this over when you're not around. So make sure that they are requiring a verbal response to the types of questions you've been working on. So at first, they're just going to be requiring a verbal response for yes-no questions. After that, then they'll start requiring a response for yes, no, and what questions. So make sure that they know exactly which questions they should expect a response from, and then make sure that everyone is consistent with how they're expecting the child to respond. So if one person is having them say a verbal response to yes-no question and another person is not, you're not going to make the progress that you would otherwise. So make sure everyone's on the same page. Make sure that you are introducing those questions one at a time and working on them for a while before you introduce the next one. And I would suggest working on them in this order. So I would do yes-no first. There's a bug on my face. Sorry. Yes-no first, then what, then who, then where. And then the last three, I feel like you can kind of interchange these depending on which ones are easiest for the kid. I would say if you don't know, a good starting point would be why, and then when, and then how. That's just kind of what I've seen are the easiest ones. But there are going to be some kids that think how is a lot easier than why. So you can always switch those last three around. But yes, no, what, who, and where is usually a pretty good basic one because that's pretty concrete. Okay, that's what I have. If you have any questions on that, please leave a comment or a question below, and I will be happy to get back with you as soon as possible. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.